You're welcome to the second session of the discussion segment of this Wednesday edition of Newdawn, and we have this topic right here to analyze, and our guest is in the studio to analyze the topic for us. The topic is Unity in Diversity, Building Peace in Border Communities. Our guest is Honorable Kayode Oladele, who is the Chairman, Farmers Elders Reconciliation Committee here in Ogun State, who border all are focused on security, border towns, and how to build peace in our communities. You're welcome, Honorable Oladele.
Good morning.
Welcome to Newdawn.
Thank you.
Yeah, many thanks for joining us on this session of the program. Yeah, Honorable, let's talk about, this committee which you head in, the Farmers Elders Reconciliation Committee.
Peace Building Committee.
Peace Building Committee.
Yes.
You're trying to foster peace in some troubled areas in the state. So how far are we with this?
Well, as the name implies, it's Peace Building Committee to seek ways and means of reconciling the farmers with the headers, particularly now that we have a spate of insecurity, killings, and destruction of lives and property here and there, particularly in our state and in Yewa West Senatorial District, Yewa K2 axis in particular, Imekoa for local government and Yewa North local government. So that is the main area where we have these trouble spots all over the place. And what we have tried to do is to see how we can look at the immediate and the remote causes of this crisis, taking into consideration the fact that most of these people have been living together for several years, hundreds of years. If you look at the time they've been living together, particularly the K2 speaking people, that stretch from K2 people in Yewa North, in Imekoa for local government, even across the Nigerian border. It's been many years. So what the government is trying to do is to say, okay, what is the cause, the main cause of this? People that have been living together in peace, suddenly things changed, and what we now have is so much enmity, so much hatred, so much problems that we feel that things should not be allowed to continue like that. And that is exactly what we are doing now. So what we have been trying to do, what we have tried to do in the past few weeks is to meet with the communities, the Obas, the Bales, the victims themselves, and to assess the situation on ground, to see what has taken place and the level of destruction on both sides. The committee that the government set up is comprised of both the headers as well as some representatives of the farmers and the traditional rulers. So we are making efforts. Just last week, the government launched this joint security squad to take care of, task force to take care of the area, the trouble spots. It's not just the entire Yewa North, not just the Ogun West, the entire Ogun West, but the trouble spots in Yewa North and in Imekoa, so that they can have a focus. They can have a focus. Governor gave us 10 patrol vans as well as 20 patrol cycles, big ones, not just the little ones that cannot go into the hinterland. So you will discover that since then, and since our activities trying to build peace, we are not keeping peace per se, we are building peace. So you can see that the whole thing is coming down. We have to pacify all the parties involved.
Okay, Honorable Oladele, in building peace in these areas, we know that there must be challenges you must have faced in building this peace, looking at the cultural, looking at the religious angle of the people living there, looking at the ethnic groups that are living in those areas. What are the challenges you faced and how you've been able to surmount them? And you know that security-wise, there are challenges there. What have you been able to do in surmounting those challenges, looking at what I've listed?
Well, I think talking about ethnic composition. You know, most of the border areas have this issue of ethnology. You know, that is the ethnic composition of the border areas. The good thing is that if you look at the two local governments we are talking about, they have monolithic ethnic composition.
Okay.
With the exception of the Fulanis that joined them maybe in the early 1900s, all you have there the same people, the same, we call it nation, you know, people that speak the same dialect. So it's etymologically, you know, it's very, very monolithic. So we don't have any problem with that. But of course, the composition of the place, because of the advent of the Fulanis who came there just around 1904 or in the early 1900s, and of course, sometime about 4 or 5 decades ago, or even before then, when a lot of them coming from other parts of West African countries like Mali and the neighboring countries came to settle in Iwoye-Ketu. There today we have about 5,000 Fulanis living there, and they have intermarried with the Ketus there, the Iwoye-Ketu indigenes. So that we don't have serious challenges with the local Fulanis that have settled there several years ago.
Because you know them. Because
they know each other, they intermarry, they do things together. But I think the problem we are having has to do with those who newly came in, those who have no respect for the rights of the indigenous people they met there. And of course, even if you talk to the local Fulanis that have been there for years, they will tell you that they also have problems with the Fulanis they call the Bororo Fulanis. You know, these are people that came from just recently from around Sudan area, coming through into Nigeria through Borno down south, and then until very recently, some of them coming from Benin Republic and Niger, you know, and Chad. So beyond that, there is, everybody's in the peace mode. We want peace. You know, the local Fulanis want peace. The indigenous want peace, because without peace you cannot do anything. You can't even talk about economic activities. Look at the market in Asa village, for instance. It was totally destroyed, you know, by these herders. If you go to other places like Iwoye-Ketu, you go to Imeko, you go to Moriwe, you go to Ebute, it's all over. So people are internally displaced because of this crisis. So everybody wants to see, everybody wants this peace. They want it, with the exception of the Bororos anyway. We don't know them. They are faceless. You know, they create a crisis and they move on. So it's difficult to pin them down. But if we all put hands together, we cooperate with one another, and we try to push out those whom we don't know, or people we can't really talk about, we don't know their origins, I think we should be able to flush out these bad elements.
Okay, Honorable, before we move on, you were talking about some Bororos causing havoc and they move on. Let's look at security apparatus, security, securing our borders now.
Yes.
Who should secure those entrances into the communities? Is it the people, the community people? Is it the police? Is it, I don't know, who should secure them? Because at this point, people are vulnerable and they want permanent solution to what is happening over there.
You know, it's very interesting. Yesterday we had a very long hearing involving Emeritus Professor of History, who is also a Yewa son, your father, Professor Ashiwaju, who is the Ashiwaju of Yewa land and the grand patron of Ketu professionals. Somebody was talking, I think somebody was talking about the borders being porous. And he said, no, you don't talk about porosity of borders, you talk about permeability. Because when you say, how do you actually secure the borders? It's very rare to see borders being fenced around. You know, it's like you're expecting Nigeria, the entire Nigeria to be fenced around. Like you had a former president of US saying that, okay, we are going to put the wall across the border from Mexico. So it's very difficult. Even where government called international border posts, i.e. in our area, you have the Diroko, you have the Seme-border, then you have Fuentedo, you have Iwo-Yeketu, you have Ilara, you know. Beyond those ones, you see some other pockets, a lot, hundreds of. So all we need, actually, in terms of patrolling, you cannot have enough personnel to do that. And that is why in those days, when the National Boundary Commission was set up, the commission used to have international cooperation workshops with our neighboring countries so that we both be our brother's keeper. They check the other side, we check this side. You know, where Nigeria doesn't have security apparatus, the Benin Republic will have security apparatus, and then we do it vice versa. So that is what we used to do. But you know, right now, in Benin Republic, for instance, they have laws that do not allow open grazing as such. So, and these people are looking for fertile ground for their cattle. So if one country is saying you cannot do it, and another country doesn't care, we have this laissez-faire attitude. You know, you can do it. So they come here, and when they get here, they do it with impunity, without respect and regard to any to the lives and properties of the indigenous people they meet here. So that is the thing. But talking about security apparatus is difficult. But that is why I said the government in Ogun State, for instance, when this problem started, launched the joint security. You know, we have for the federal government, you have the Immigration and Border Patrol. You know, they don't have that resources. You know, are we now going to say, okay, probably we use technology? Today, in Yewa, we have problems using technology. Even the local indigenous cannot use telephone because we don't have masts, no telephone network. You know, it makes calls difficult. I don't know whether you've been to any of these places. As soon as you get there, all you see is welcome to Benin Republic, because Benin Republic has stronger network. So it gets into Nigeria. So we need to push back. And that is why the state government, the state government is doing right now is to talk to the telephone carriers, the MTN and Glo and other carriers, to erect powerful masts along the axis, so that at least we can have, yes, so that once the locals see some strange movements, they can call the authorities for assistance. And in any event also, we have poor infrastructure. The roads are not good. So even if the security operatives want to swing into action, they don't have good roads to really move into action. So these are the things we are talking to the government to do. And of course, it's not just the state government. We have the border communities development agency set up by the federal government to ensure proper welfare and development of border communities. But they're not doing it. They're not doing it. So there's a serious abdication of and dereliction of duty.
Well, it's glad to know that your committee is making progress. You said something vital. The onus does not lie on the state government alone. Federal government has, roles not to play in this. So basically, what are you also telling the federal government? I know that for some time now there has been talks about complete ban on grazing. So what's your advice? What are you pushing to them? What do you also want the federal government to do? Urgently in this situation.
Well, like I said, government set up this committee to come up with recommendations as to what to do to forestall this problem from coming back again, and then to look at compensation. But we have since discovered that we have micro and macro reasons. There are some the state government can do, there are some the federal government can do. We have some of these things will be contained in our report, which maybe in a few weeks we should be able to do. But today, between today, this week, we should at least submit an interim report to the state government on our findings.
Okay, Honorable, what really is the role of peace in the society? Because we know that there can be total peace in the society, and there can be total war in the society. So what is the place of peace? What does peace bring? We want the people to know that peace is good, and we must clamor for it every time. So what is the place of peace in the society?
Well, peace is very important. Even if you look at it morally, you know, both religions, for instance, talks about peace. You know, if you talk about Islamic religions, they will say, at least I know it for sure, that it's a religion of peace. So those who clamor for war, those who clamor for violence, they are not Muslims. If you talk about Christianity, it talks about peace. So those who talk about war or violence are not Christians. And if you look at the local indigenous religious organizations too, everybody talks about peace, because without peace we cannot do anything. You hear people say, well, I slept with both eyes closed. That means there is peace. But if you have this feeling that you are likely to be attacked, definitely you are not going to sleep tight. You know, so peace is important for economic activities, and that is why if you look at Section 14, subsection 2B of Nigerian Constitution, it says welfare and security of the people shall be the primary responsibility of government. So that means that right there, peace is very important. You can't talk about foreign direct investment in a country that is having difficulties or going through crisis, peace, war, and chaos. Nobody will go and invest there. You know, so we all have to clamor for peace. When you say there can't be total peace, we can't have total peace. I mean, you can have issues. You can have issues. You can have demonstrations. Those are not issues. Those are not problems. Right. I mean, definitely not every policy of government that people will like. So they are bound to. That is where we have the fundamental human rights. People to be able to speak out. That is not a problem. It's only when it becomes violent. It's only when people's lives are involved, or properties, damages, and so have been involved. That is where we begin to talk about breach of peace. But every other, beyond that, the right to fair hearing or to your association to talk, free speech is covered by law, and those ones don't have any problem with peace.
Okay.
Right.
Time is fast spent,
Yes.
but let me just ask you perhaps the last question. Up north, we know there's banditry, abduction and all that, and many assumed solutions on the table, negotiation, amnesty. Now, the federal government has struck out that house completely. And yes, we heard about the directive by the federal government that any one bearing bearing arms, bearing AK-47 should be shot at sight. So what should we be looking at? What factors do you think will really work in all of this? Is it negotiation, amnesty, or fire for fire?
Well, you can't do fire for fire, because for sure, if you do that, innocent lives will be lost. Fire for fire is not going to be it. There's nothing, you can't do banditry government. It has to be, you have to look at it to ensure that it is the real criminals we are dealing with. So you don't govern with emotion and sentiment. So even when people are crying, you have to calm down. But in any event, when you're talking about the AK-47 carrying arms, we don't even need the federal government. I don't need the president, for instance, to tell me that shoot at sight. I can even challenge the president. We have the laws there. Let the police implement the laws. Is it legal for anybody to start with? Is it legal for anybody to bear arms? We have the laws there. So either shoot at sight or don't shoot at sight. All you need to do is let the law enforcement agencies do their work properly. We've gone around, we've spoken with people, we've had interviews. The thing they are talking about is that, look, if we report to the police, or when we did, the police will arrest these people, somebody who committed murder, and the next minute is released on bail. I know for sure, as a matter of law, that murder is not bailable. So if the police want to do their job, there's no way they would give somebody who has killed, who has raped somebody, giving that person a bail. That is not the law. Well, we were somewhere in Iwoyiketu last week. A woman was introduced to me, as I discussed with her. She was raped repeatedly in the presence of her husband. Okay? But the Nigerian police did not do anything. It was when, after the matter was reported to the Beninese police, that the authorities of Benin Republic arrested this person in Benin and jailed him there. He was released in Nigeria. He crossed over. He was arrested and jailed. So if the police do their job very well, or the security agencies do their job very well, we don't need the president to even be given shoot-aside order.
All right, sir. Okay, that will be all on this segment. Thank you, Honorable Kayode Oladele, for coming on the show, and we wish your committee a peaceful resolution on this job you're given. Thank you for coming, sir.
My pleasure.
Thank you.
Yes, it's been a pleasure having your program. So many thanks once again. Well, we have to go now. That's all on today's edition of the program. Well, the program continues tomorrow. Thursday, Yoruba version. The Friday, we also have the English version with the duo of Lainka Shodoke and Hakim today. But that's all for now. Many thanks for watching.
Sam Hotel and Suites, VFS Suites, a place of spectacular standard known for quality service delivery. Our hotel, equipped with state-of-the-art facilities with 24 hours power supply and effective security system, located in a beautiful, convenient, and friendly environment. At Victor Sam Hotel and Suites, we excel in overall service and equal to none at providing beautiful experiences for all customers. We have an outstanding outdoor bar and executive bar